Beth Gelert by William Robert Spencer. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin as the narrator,
and Thomas Peter as Llewellyn.
Beth Gelert. The spearman heard the bugle sound, and cheerily smiled the morn, and many a brach and many a hound obeyed Llewellyn's horn. And still he blew a louder blast, and gave a lustier cheer.
Come, Gelert, come, let never last Llewellyn's horn to hear. Oh, where does faithful Gelert roam, the flower of all his race? So true, so brave, a lamb at home, a lion in the chase.
In sooth, he was a peerless hound, the gift of royal John, but now no Gelert could be found, and all the chase rode on. That day Llewellyn little loved the chase of hart and hare, and scant and small the booty proved, for Gelert was not there. Unpleased, Llewellyn home would hide, when near the portal seat his truant Gelert he espied, bounding his lord to greet. But when he gained his castle door, aghast the chieftain stood. The hound all o'er was smeared with gore, his lips, his fangs ran blood. Llewellyn gazed with fierce surprise, and used such looks to meet, his favourite checked his joyful guise, and crouched and licked his feet. Onward in haste Llewellyn passed, and on went Gelert too, and still, where'er his eyes he cast, fresh blood gouts shocked his view. O'erturned his infant's bed he found, with blood-stained covert rent, and all around the walls and ground with recent blood besprent. He called his child, no voice replied, he searched with terror wild. Blood, blood he found on every side, but nowhere found his child.
Hellhound, my child's by thee devoured,
the frantic father cried, and to the hilt his vengeful sword he plunged in Gelert's side. Aroused by Gelert's dying yell, some slumberer wakened nigh. What words the parent's joy could tell to hear his infant's cry? Concealed beneath a tumbled heap, his hurried search had missed, all glowing from his rosy sleep, the cherub boy he kissed. Nor scathe had he, nor harm nor dread, but the same couch beneath lay a gaunt wolf all torn and dead, tremendous still in death. Ah, what was then Llewellyn's pain? For now the truth was clear, his gallant hound the wolf had slain, to save Llewellyn's heir. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Dog's Memory by Louise Imogen Guinea. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. To a Dog's Memory. The gusty morns are here, when all the reeds ride low with level spear, and on such nights as lured as far of yore, down rocky alleys yet, and through the pine, the hound star and the pagan hunter shine. But I and thou, ah, field fellow of mine, together roam no more. Soft showers go laden now with odors of the sappy orchard bough, and brooks begin to brawl along the march. The late frost steams from hollow sedges high. The finches come, the flame-blue dragon-fly, the cowslip's common gold that children spy, the plume upon the larch. There is a music fills the oaks of Belmont and the Wayland hills, southward to Dewing's little bubbly stream. The heavenly weather's call. Oh, who alive hastes not to start, delays not to arrive, having free feet that never felt a gyve way, even in a dream. But thou instead hast found the sunless April uplands underground, and still, wherever thou art, I must be. My beautiful, arise in might and mirth, for we were tameless travellers from our birth. Arise against thy narrow door of earth, and keep the watch for me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Helvellyn by Sir Walter Scott. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Helvellyn. In the spring of 1805, a young gentleman of talents and of most amiable disposition perished by losing his way on the mountain Helvellyn. His remains were not discovered till 3 months afterwards, when they were found, guarded by a faithful terrier, his constant attendant during frequent solitary rambles through the wilds of Cumberland and Westmoreland. I climbed the dark brow of the mighty Helvellyn. Lakes and mountains beneath me gleamed misty and wide. All was still, save by fits when the eagle was yelling, and starting around me the echoes replied. On the right striding edge round the red tarn was bending, and Catchedicam its left verge was defending. One huge nameless rock in the front was ascending, when I marked the sad spot where the wanderer had died. Dark green was that spot, with the brown mountain heather, where the pilgrim of nature lay stretched in decay, like the corpse of an outcast abandoned to weather till the mountain winds wasted the tenantless clay. Not yet quite deserted, though lonely extended, for faithful in death his mute favourite attended, the much-loved remains of her master defended, and chased the hill fox and the raven away. How long didst thou think that his silence was slumber? When the wind waved his garment, how oft didst thou start? How many long days and long nights didst thou slumber, ere he faded before thee, the friend of thy heart? And, oh, was it meet that no requiem read o'er him, no mother to weep and no friend to deplore him, and thou, little guardian, alone stretched before him, unhonoured the pilgrim from life should depart? When a prince to the fate of the peasant has yielded, the tapestry waves dark around the dim lighted hall, with scutcheons of silver the coffin is shielded, and pages stand mute by the canopied pall. Through the courts at deep midnight the torches are gleaming, in the proudly arched chapel the banners are beaming, far adown the long aisle sacred music is streaming, lamenting a chief of the people should fall. But meeter for thee, gentle lover of nature, to lay down thy head like the meek mountain lamb, when wildered he drops from some cliff huge in stature, and draws his last sob by the side of his dam. And more stately thy couch, by this desert lake lying, thy obsequies sung by the grey plover flying, with one faithful friend but to witness thy dying, in the arms of Helvellyn and Catchedicam. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Arab to his Favourite Steed by Caroline Elizabeth Sarah Norton. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Arab to his Favourite Steed. My beautiful, that standest meekly by, with thy proud arched and glossy neck and dark and fiery eye. Fret not to roam the desert now with all thy winged speed. I may not mount on thee again, thou art sold, my Arab steed. Fret not with that impatient hoof, snuff not the breezy wind. The farther that thou fliest now, so far am I behind. The stranger hath thy bridle rein, thy master hath his gold. Fleet limbed and beautiful, Farewell, thou art sold, my steed, thou art sold. Farewell, those free untired limbs full many a mile must roam, to reach the chill and wintry sky which clouds the stranger's home. Some other hand, less fond, must now thy corn and bed prepare. Thy silky mane, I braided once, must be another's care. The morning sun shall dawn again, but never more with thee Shall I gallop through the desert paths where we were wont to be. Evening shall darken on the earth, and o'er the sandy plain Some other steed with slower step shall bear me home again. Yes, thou must go, the wild, free breeze, the brilliant sun and sky, Thy master's house, from all of these my exiled one must fly. Thy proud dark eye will grow less proud, thy step become less fleet, And vainly shalt thou arch thy neck thy master's hand to meet. Only in sleep shall I behold that dark eye glancing bright, Only in sleep shall hear again that step so firm and light. And when I raise my dreaming arm to check or cheer thy speed, Then must I starting wake to feel thou art sold, my Arab steed. Ah, rudely then, unseen by me, some cruel hand may chide, Till foam wreaths lie like crested waves along thy panting side, And the rich blood that's in thee swells in thy indignant pain, Till careless eyes which rest on thee may count each starting vein. Will they ill use thee? If I thought, but no, it cannot be. Thou art so swift, yet easy curbed, so gentle, yet so free. And yet, if haply, when thou art gone, my lonely heart should yearn, Can the hand which cast thee from it now command thee to return? Return! Alas, my Arab steed, what shall thy master do, When thou who wast his all of joy hast vanished from his view? When the dim distance cheats mine eye, and through the gathering tears Thy bright form for a moment like the false mirage appears, Slow and unmounted shall I roam, with weary step alone, Where with fleet step and joyous bound thou oft hast borne me on. And sitting down by that green well, I'll pause and sadly think It was here he bowed his glossy neck when last I saw him drink. When last I saw thee drink, away! The fevered dream is o'er. I could not live a day and know that we should meet no more. They tempted me, my beautiful, for hunger's power is strong. They tempted me, my beautiful, but I have loved too long. Who said that I had given thee up? Who said that thou wast sold? 'Tis false, my Arab steed, I fling them back their gold. Thus, I leap upon thy back and scour the distant plains. Away! Who overtakes us now shall claim thee for his pains. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Blood Horse by Brian Waller Proctor, Barry Cornwall. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. The Blood Horse. Gamarra is a dainty steed, strong, black, and of a noble breed, full of fire and full of bone, with all his line of fathers known. Fine his nose, his nostrils thin, but blown abroad by the pride within. His mane is like a river flowing, and his eyes like embers glowing in the darkness of the night, and his pace as swift as light. Look, how round his straining throat grace and shifting beauty float. Sinewy strength is in his reins, and the red blood gallops through his veins. Richer, redder, never ran through the boasting heart of man. He can trace his lineage higher than the Bourbon dare aspire. Douglas, Guzman, or the Guelph, or O'Brien's blood itself. He who hath no peer was born here upon a red March morn. But his famous fathers dead were Arabs all, and Arab bred, And the last of that great line trod like one of a race divine. And yet he was but friend to one who fed him at the set of sun by some lone fountain fringed with green. With him a roving Bedouin. He lived, no one else would he obey through all the hot Arabian day, and died untamed upon the sands where Balkh amidst the desert stands. Brian Waller Proctor, Barry Cornwall. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Chariot of Cuchulainn by Anonymous. Translated from the Ancient Irish by W. H. Drummond. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Chariot of Cuchulainn. From the Breach of the Plain of Muirhevni. The car, light moving, I behold, adorned with gems and studs of gold, ruled by the hand of skilful guide, swiftly and swiftly see it glide. Comes thundering on, unmatched in speed, the gallant grey high-bounding steed. His four firm hoofs at every bound scarce seem to touch the solid ground. Outflashing from their flinty frame, flash upon flash of ruddy flame. The other steed, of equal pace, well shaped to conquer in the race, of slender limb, firm knit and strong, his small light head he lifts on high, impetuous as he scours along. Red lightning glances from his eye, flung on his curved neck and chest, toss his crisp manes like warrior's crest of the wild chafer's dark brown hues, the colour that his flanks imbues. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Chiquita by Bret Harte. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Chiquita. Beautiful. Sir, you may say so. There isn't a match in the county. Is there, old girl? Chiquita, my darling, my beauty. Feel of that neck, sir. There's velvet. Whoa, steady. Ah, will you, you vixen? Whoa, I say. Jack, trot out. Let the gentleman look at her paces. Morgan, she ain't nothing else, and I've got the papers to prove it. Signed by Chippewa Chief, and $1,200 won't buy her. Briggs of Tuolumne owned her. Did you know Briggs of Tuolumne? Busted himself in White Pine, and blew out his brains down in Frisco. Had no savvy, had Briggs. There, Jack, that'll do. Quit that fooling. Nothing to what she can do when she's got her work cut out before her. Horses is horses, you know, and likewise, too, jockeys is jockeys. And 'tain't every man as can ride as knows what a horse has got in him. Know the old ford on the fork that nearly got Flanagan's leaders? Nasty in daylight, you bet. A mighty rough ford in low water. Well, it ain't 6 weeks ago that me and the judge and his nevy struck for that ford in the night, in the rain, in the water all round us, up to our flanks in the gulch, and Rattlesnake Creek just a billin'. Not a plank left in the dam, and nary a bridge on the river. I had the gray, and the judge had his roan, and his nevy, Chiquita, and after us trundled the rocks just loose from the top of the canyon. Lickety switch we came to the ford, and Chiquita buckled right down to her work, and afore I could yell to her rider, took water just at the ford, and there was the judge and me standing, and $1,200 of horseflesh afloat, and adrift into thunder. Would you believe it, that night that horse, That our filly Chiquita walked herself into a stall, and stood there all quiet and dripping, clean as a beaver or rat, with nary a buckle of harness, just as she swam the fork. That horse, that our filly Chiquita. That's what I call a horse. And, what did you say? Oh, the nevy. Drowned it, I reckon. Leastways, he never came back to deny it. You see, the darn fool had no seat. You couldn't have made him a rider. And then, boys will be boys. And horses, well, horses is horses. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sea by Ralph Waldo Emerson. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yao. The Sea. Behold the sea, the opaline, the plentiful and strong, yet beautiful as is the rose in June. Fresh as the trickling rainbow of July, sea full of food, the nourisher of kinds, purger of earth, and medicine of men, creating a sweet climate by my breath, washing out harms and griefs from memory, and in my mathematic ebb and flow, giving a hint of that which changes not. Rich are the sea gods. Who gives gifts but they? They grope the sea for pearls, but more than pearls. They pluck force thence, and give it to the wise. For every wave is wealth to Daedalus, wealth to the cunning artist who can work this matchless strength. Where shall he find, O waves, a load your Atlas shoulders cannot lift? I with my hammer pounding evermore the rocky coast, smite Andes into dust, string my bed, and in another age rebuild a continent of better men. Then I unbar the doors, my paths lead out the exodus of nations. I disperse men to all shores that front the hoary main. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sea, from Childe Harold, Canto 4, by Lord Byron. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org, by Thomas Peter. The Sea, from Childe Harold, Canto 4. There is a pleasure in the pathless woods. There is a rapture on the lonely shore. There is society where none intrudes, by the deep sea, and music in its roar. I love not man the less, but nature more. From these are interviews, in which I steal from all I may be, or have been before, to mingle with the universe, and feel what I can ne'er express, yet cannot all conceal. Roll on, thou deep and dark blue ocean, roll! 10,000 fleets sweep over thee in vain. Man marks the earth with ruin, his control stops with the shore. Upon the watery plain the wrecks are all thy deed, nor doth remain a shadow of man's ravage, save his own, when for a moment, like a drop of rain, he sinks into thy depths with bubbling groan, without a grave, unknelled, uncoffined, and unknown. His steps are not upon thy paths, thy fields are not a spoil for him. Thou dost arise and shake him from thee. The vile strength he wields for earth's destruction thou dost all despise, spurning him from thy bosom to the skies, and send'st him, shivering in thy playful spray, and howling, to his gods, where haply lies his petty hope in some near port or bay, and dashest him again to earth. There let him lay. The armaments which thunderstrike the walls of rock-built cities, bidding nations quake and monarchs tremble in their capitals, the oak leviathans, whose huge ribs make their clay creator the vain title take of lord of thee and arbiter of war. These are thy toys, and as the snowy flake, they melt into thy yeast of waves, which mar alike the Armada's pride or spoils of Trafalgar. Thy shores are empires, changed in all save thee. Assyria, Greece, Rome, Carthage, what are they? Thy waters wasted them while they were free, and many a tyrant since. Their shores obey the stranger, slave or savage. Their decay has dried up realms to deserts. Not so thou. Unchangeable save to thy wild waves' play, Time writes no wrinkles on thine azure brow. Such as creation's dawn beheld, thou rollest now. Thou glorious mirror, where the Almighty's form glasses itself in tempests, in all time, calm or convulsed, in breeze or gale or storm, icing the pole, or in the torrid clime dark heaving, boundless, endless, and sublime, the image of eternity, the throne of the invisible. Even from out thy slime the monsters of the deep are made, each zone obeys thee. Thou goest forth, dread, fathomless, alone. And I have loved thee, ocean, and my joy of youthful sports was on thy breast to be borne, like thy bubbles, onward. From a boy I wantoned with thy breakers. They to me were a delight, and if the freshening sea made them a terror, 'twas a pleasing fear, for I was, as it were, a child of thee, and trusted to thy billows far and near, and laid my hand upon thy mane, as I do here. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sea by Bernard Barton, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Sea. Beautiful, sublime, and glorious, mild, majestic, foaming, free, over time itself victorious, image of eternity. Sun and moon and stars shine o'er thee. See thy surface ebb and flow, yet attempt not to explore thee in thy soundless depths below. Where the morning's splendor steep thee with the rainbow's glowing grace, tempests rouse or navies sweep thee, 'tis but for a moment's space. Earth, her valleys and her mountains, mortal men's behests obey. The unfathomable fountains scoff his search and scorn his sway. Such art thou, stupendous ocean, but if overwhelmed by thee, can we think without emotion what must thy Creator be? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Disappointed Lover, from The Triumph of Time, by Algernon Charles Swinburne, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yao. The Disappointed Lover. I will go back to the great sweet mother, mother and lover of men, the sea. I will go down to her, I and none other, close with her, kiss her, and mix her with me. Cling to her, strive with her, hold her fast. O fair white mother, in days long past, born without sister, born without brother, set free my soul as thy soul is free. O fair green girdled mother of mine, sea that are clothed with the sun and the rain. Thy sweet hard kisses are strong like wine, thy large embraces are keen like pain. Save me and hide me with all thy waves, find me one grave of thy 1,000 graves, those pure, cold, populous graves of thine, wrought without hand in a world without stain. I shall sleep and move with the moving ships, change as the winds change, veer in the tide. My lips will feast on the foam of thy lips, I shall rise with thy rising, with thee subside. Sleep, and not know if she be, if she were, filled full with life to the eyes and hair, as a rose is full filled to the rose leaf tips with splendid summer and perfume and pride. This woven raiment of nights and days, were it once cast off and unwound from me, naked and glad would I walk in thy ways, alive and aware of thy waves and thee, clear of the whole world, hidden at home, clothed with the green and crowned with the foam, a pulse of the life of thy straits and bays, a vein in the heart of the streams of the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ocean, from The Course of Time, Book 1, by Robert Pollock. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Ocean. Great ocean, strongest of creation's suns, unconquerable, unreposed, untired, that rolled the wild, profound, eternal bass in nature's anthem, and made music such as pleased the ear of God, original, unmarred, unfaded work of deity, and unburlesqued by mortal's puny skill, from age to age enduring and unchanged, majestical, inimitable, vast, loud uttering satire day and night on each succeeding race, and little pompous work of man, unfallen, religious, holy sea. Thou bowedst thy glorious head to none, fearedst none, heardst none, to none didst honour, but to God, thy Maker, only worthy to receive thy great obeisance. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sea by Brian Waller Proctor, Barry Cornwall. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Sea. The sea, the sea, the open sea, the blue, the fresh, the ever free. Without a mark, without a bound, it runneth the earth's wide regions round. It plays with the clouds, it mocks the skies, or like a cradled creature lies. I am on the sea, I am on the sea, I am where I would ever be, with the blue above and the blue below, and silence wheresoever I go. If a storm should come and wake the deep, what matter? I shall ride and sleep. I love, oh, how I love to ride on the fierce foaming bursting tide, when every mad wave drowns the moon, or whistles aloft his tempest tune, and tells how goeth the world below, and why the sou'west blasts do blow. I never was on the dull tame shore, but I loved the great sea more and more, and backwards flew to her billowy breast, like a bird that seeketh its mother's nest. And a mother she was, and is to me, for I was born on the open sea. The waves were white and red the morn, in the noisy hour when I was born, and the whale it whistled, and the porpoise rolled, and the dolphins bared their backs of gold, and never was heard such an outcry wild as welcomed to life the ocean child. I've lived since then In calm and strife full 50 summers, a sailor's life, With wealth to spend and a power to range, But never have sought nor sighed for change. And death, whene'er he comes to me, Shall come on the wild unbounded sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Address to the Ocean by Brian Waller Proctor, Barry Cornwall. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. Address to the Ocean. O thou vast ocean, ever sounding sea, Thou symbol of a drear immensity, Thou thing that windest round the solid world Like a huge animal, which, downward hurled From the black clouds, lies weltering and alone, Lashing and writhing till its strength be gone. Thy voice is like the thunder, and thy sleep Is as a giant's slumber loud and deep. Thou speakest in the east and in the west At once, and on thy heavily laden breast Fleets come and go, and shapes that have no life Or motion, yet are moved and meet in strife. The earth has naught of this; no chance or change Ruffles its surface, and no spirits dare Give answer to the tempest wakened air; But o'er its wastes the weakly tenants range At will, and wound its bosom as they go. Ever the same, it hath no ebb, no flow, But in their stated rounds the seasons come And pass like visions to their wonted home, And come again, and vanish. The young spring Looks ever bright with leaves and blossoming, And winter always winds his sullen horn When the wild autumn, with a look forlorn, Dies in his stormy manhood, and the skies Weep, and flowers sicken when the summer flies. O wonderful thou art, great element, And fearful in thy spleeny humors bent, And lovely in repose; thy summer form Is beautiful, and when thy silver waves Make music in earth's dark and winding caves, I love to wander on thy pebbled beach, Marking the sunlight at the evening hour, And hearken to the thoughts thy waters teach, Eternity, eternity and power. Brian Waller Proctor, Barry Cornwall. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Gravedigger by Bliss Carman. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Gravedigger. Oh, the shambling sea is a sexton old, and well his work is done. With an equal grave for lord and knave, he buries them every one. Then hoy and rip with a rolling hip, he makes for the nearest shore, and God, who sent him 1,000 ship, will send him 1,000 more. But some he'll save for a bleaching grave, and shoulder them into shore, shoulder them in, shoulder them in, shoulder them into shore. Oh, the ships of Greece and the ships of Tyre went out, and where are they? In the port they made, they are delayed with the ships of yesterday. He followed the ships of England far, and the ships of long ago, and the ships of France, they led him a dance, but he laid them all a row. Oh, a loafing, idle lubber to him is the sexton of the town, for sure and swift with a guiding lift he shovels the dead men down. But though he delves so fierce and grim, his honest graves are wide, as well they know who sleeps below the dredge of the deepest tide. Oh, he works with a rollicking stave at lip, and loud is the chorus skirled. With the burly note of his rumbling throat he batters it down the world. He learnt it once in his father's house, where the ballads of eld were sung, and merry enough is the burden rough, but no man knows the tongue. Oh, fair, they say, was his bride to see, and wilful she must have been, that she could bide at his gruesome side when the first red dawn came in. And sweet, they say, is her kiss to those she greets to his border home, and softer than sleep her hand's first sweep that beckons, and they come. Oh, crooked is he, but strong enough to handle the tallest mast. From the royal bark to the slaver dark, he buries them all at last. Then hoy and rip, with a rolling hip, he makes for the nearest shore, and God, who sent him 1,000 ship, will send him 1,000 more. But some he'll save for a bleaching grave, and shoulder them in to shore, shoulder them in, shoulder them in, shoulder them in to shore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Treasures of the Deep by Felisha Hemans. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Treasures of the Deep. What hidst thou in thy treasure caves and cells, thou hollow sounding and mysterious main? Pale, glistening pearls and rainbow-colored shells, bright things which gleam unrecked of and in vain. Keep, keep thy riches, melancholy sea, we ask not such from thee. Yet more, the depths have more, what wealth untold far down and shining through their stillness lies. Thou hast the starry gems, the burning gold, won from 10,000 royal argosies. Sweep over thy spoils, thou wild and wrathful main, earth claims not these again. Yet more, the depths have more, thy waves have rolled above the cities of a world gone by. Sand hath filled up the palaces of old, seaweed overgrown the halls of revelry. Dash over them, ocean, in thy scornful play, man yields them to decay. Yet more, the billows and the depth have more, high hearts and brave are gathered to thy breast. They hear not now the booming waters roar, the battle thunders will not break their rest. Keep thy red gold and gems, thou stormy grave, give back the true and brave. Give back the lost and lovely, those for whom the place was kept at board and hearth so long. The prayer went up through midnight's breathless gloom, and the vain yearning woke midst festal song. Hold fast thy buried isles, thy towers overthrown, but all is not thine own. To thee the love of woman hath gone down, dark flow thy tides over manhood's noble head, over youth's bright locks and beauty's flowery crown. Yet must thou hear a voice, restore the dead. Earth shall reclaim her precious things from thee, restore the dead, thou sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Flotsam and Jetsam by Anonymous. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Flotsam and Jetsam. The sea crashed over the grim grey rocks. It thundered beneath the height. It swept by reef and sandy dune. It glittered beneath the harvest moon that bathed it in yellow light. Shell and seaweed and sparkling stone it flung on the golden sand, strange relics torn from its deepest caves, sad trophies of wild victorious waves, it scattered upon the strand. Spars that had looked so strong and true at many a gallant launch, shattered and broken, flung to the shore, while the tide in its wild triumphant roar rang a dirge for the vessel staunch. petty trifles that lovers had brought from many a foreign clime, snatched by the storm from the clinging clasp of hands that the lonely will never grasp, while the world yet measures time. Back, back to its depths went the ebbing tide, leaving its stores to rest, unsought and unseen in the silent bay, to be gathered again ere close of day to the ocean's mighty breast. Kinder than man art thou, O sea! Frankly we give our best, truth and hope and love and faith, devotion that challenges time and death its sterling worth to test. We fling them down at our darling's feet, indifference leaves them there. The careless footstep turns aside, weariness, changefulness, scorn, or pride bring little of thought or care. No tide of human feeling turns, once ebbed, love never flows. The pitiful wreckage of time and strife, the flotsam and jetsam of human life, no saving reflux knows. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Forsaken Garden by Algernon Charles Swinburne, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama as the narrator,
And Thomas Peter as the lover.
A Forsaken Garden. In a coign of the cliff between lowland and highland, at the sea down's edge between windward and lee, walled round with rocks as an inland island, the ghost of a garden fronts the sea. A girdle of brushwood and thorn encloses the steep, square slope of the blossomless bed where the weeds that grew green from the graves of its roses now lie dead. The fields fall southward, abrupt and broken, to the low last edge of the long lone land. If a step should sound or a word be spoken, would a ghost not rise at the strange guest's hand? So long have the gray bare walks lain guestless, through branches and briars if a man make way, he shall find no life but the sea winds, restless night and day. The dense hard passages blind and stifled that crawls by a track none turn to climb to the strait waste place that the years have rifled of all but the thorns that are touched not of time. The thorns he spares when the rose is taken, the rocks are left when he wastes the plain, the wind that wanders, the weeds wind shaken, these remain. Not a flower to be pressed of the foot that falls not, as the heart of a dead man the seed plots are dry. From the thicket of thorns whence the nightingale calls not, could she call, there were never a rose to reply. Over the meadows that blossom and wither rings but the note of a seabird's song, only the sun and the rain come hither all year long. The sun burns sere and the rain dishevels one gaunt bleak blossom of scentless breath. Only the wind here hovers and revels in a round where life seems barren as death. Here there was laughing of old, there was weeping, haply, of lovers none ever will know, whose eyes went seaward 100 sleeping years ago. Heart handfast in heart as they stood,
Look thither,
did he whisper?
look forth from the flowers to the sea, for the firm flowers endure when the rose blossoms wither, and men that love lightly may die, but we.
And the same wind sang and the same waves whitened, and or ever the garden's last petals were shed, in the lips that had whispered, the eyes that had lightened, love was dead. Or they loved their life through, and then went whither, and were one to the end, but what end who knows? Love deep as the sea as a rose must wither, as the rose red seaweed that mocks the rose. Shall the dead take thought for the dead to love them? What love was ever as deep as a grave? They are loveless now as the grass above them, or the wave. All are at one now, roses and lovers, Not known of the cliffs and the fields and the sea. Not a breath of the time that has been Hovers in the air now, soft with a summer to be. Not a breath shall there sweeten the seasons hereafter Of the flowers or the lovers that laugh now or weep, When, as they that are free now of weeping and laughter, we shall sleep. Here death may deal not again forever, Here change may come not till all change end. From the graves they have made they shall rise up never, Who have left naught living to ravage and rend. Earth, stones, and thorns of the wild ground growing, While the sun and the rain live, these shall be, Till a last wind's breath upon all those blowing Roll the sea. Till the slow sea rise and the sheer cliff crumble, Till terrace and meadow the deep gulfs drink, Till the strength of the waves of the high tides humble The fields that lessen, the rocks that shrink, Here now in this triumph where all things falter, Stretched out on the spoils that his own hand spread, As a god self slain on his own strange altar, Death lies dead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Gulfweed by Cornelius George Fenner. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Gulfweed. A weary weed, tossed to and fro, drearily drenched in the ocean brine, soaring high and sinking low, lashed along without will of mine. Sport of the spume of the surging sea, flung on the foam afar and near, mark my manifold mystery, growth and grace in their place appear. I bear round berries grey and red, rootless and rover though I be, my spangled leaves, when nicely spread, arboresce as a trunkless tree. Corals curiously coat me o'er, white and hard in apt array. Mid the wild waves' rude uproar, gracefully grow I night and day. Hearts there are on the sounding shore, something whispers soft to me, restless and roaming for evermore, like this weary weed of the sea. Bear they yet on each beating breast the eternal type of the wondrous whole, growth unfolding amidst unrest, grace informing with silent soul. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Seaweed by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5. Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Seaweed. When descends on the Atlantic the gigantic storm wind of the equinox, landward in his wrath he scourges the toiling surges, laden with seaweed from the rocks, from Bermuda's reefs, from edges of sunken ledges, in some far-off bright Azore, from Bahama and the dashing silver flashing surges of San Salvador, from the tumbling surf that buries the Orkneyan skerries, answering the hoarse Hebrides, and from wrecks of ships and drifting spars, uplifting on the desolate rainy seas, ever drifting, drifting, drifting on the shifting currents of the restless main, till in sheltered coves and reaches of sandy beaches all have found repose again. So when storms of wild emotion strike the ocean of the poet's soul ere long, from each cave and rocky fastness in its vastness floats some fragment of a song. From the far-off isles enchanted Heaven has planted with the golden fruit of truth, from the flashing surf whose vision gleams Elysian in the tropic clime of youth, from the strong will and the endeavor that forever wrestles with the tides of fate, from the wreck of hopes far scattered, tempest shattered, floating waste and desolate, ever drifting, drifting, drifting on the shifting currents of the restless heart, till at length in books recorded they, like hoarded household words, no more depart. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Coral Insect by Lydia Huntley Sigourney. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Coral Insect. Toil on, ye ephemeral train, who build in the tossing and treacherous main. Toil on, for the wisdom of man ye mock, with your sand-based structure and domes of rock. Your columns the fathomless fountain's cave, and your arches spring up to the crested wave. You're a puny race thus to boldly rear a fabric so vast in a realm so drear. Ye bind the deep with your secret zone, the ocean is sealed and the surge a stone. Fresh wreaths from the coral pavement spring, like the terraced pride of Assyria's king. The turf looks green where the breakers rolled, or the whirlpool ripens the rind of gold. The sea-snatched isle is the home of men, and mountains exult where the wave hath been. But why do ye plant 'neath the billows dark the wrecking reef for the gallant bark? There are snares enough on the tented field, mid the blossomed sweets that the valleys yield. There are serpents to coil ere the flowers are up. There's a poisoned drop in the man's purest cup. There are foes that watch for his cradle breath, and why need ye sow the floods with death? With mouldering bones the deeps are white, from the ice-clad pole to the tropics bright. The mermaid hath twisted her fingers cold with the mesh of the sea-boy's curls of gold, and the gods of the ocean have frowned to see the mariner's bed in their halls of glee. Hath earth no graves that ye thus must spread, the boundless sea for the thronging dead? Ye build, but ye enter not in, like the tribes whom the desert devoured in their sin. From the land of promise ye fade and die, ere its verdure gleams forth on your weary eye, as the kings of the cloud-crowned pyramid, their noiseless bones in oblivion hid. Ye slumber unmarked amid the desolate main, while the wonder and pride of your works remain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Coral Reef, from The Pelican Island, by James Montgomery. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Lianne Yao. The Coral Reef. Every one, by instinct taught, performed its little task, to build its dwelling and its sepulchre. From its own essence exquisitely modelled, there breed and die and leave a progeny, still multiplied beyond the reach of numbers, to frame new cells and tombs, then breed and die, as all their ancestors had done, and rest, hermetically sealed, each in its shrine, a statue in this temple of oblivion. Millions of millions thus, from age to age, with simplest skill and toil unweariable, no moment and no movement unimproved, laid line, on terrace spread, to swell the heightening, brightening, gradual mound, by marvellous structure climbing towards the day. A point at first. It appeared above those waves, a point so small I just perceived it, fixed where all was floating. And when a bubble crossed it, the blue film expanded like a sky above the speck. That speck became a handbreadth. Day and night it spread, accumulated, and ere long presented to my view a dazzling plain, white as the moon amid the sapphire sea, bare at low water, and as still as death. But when the tide came gurgling o'er the surface, 'twas like a resurrection of the dead, from graves innumerable, punctures fine in the close coral, capillary swarms of reptiles, horrent as Medusa's snakes, covered the bald pate reef. Ere long, the roof o'ertopped the spring flood's height, and mocked the billows when they leapt upon it, unable to maintain their slippery hold, and falling down in foam wreaths around its verge. Steep were the flanks, with precipices sharp, descending to their base in ocean gloom. Chasms few and narrow and irregular formed harbours, safe at once and perilous. Safe for defence, but perilous to enter. A sea lake shone amidst the fossil isle, reflecting in its ring its cliffs and caverns, with heaven itself seen like a lake below. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Chambered Nautilus by Oliver Wendell Holmes, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. The Chambered Nautilus. This is the ship of pearl, which, poets feign, sails the unshadowed main, the venturous bark that flings on the sweet summer wind its purpled wings in gulfs enchanted, where the siren sings, and coral reefs lie bare, where the cold sea maids rise to sun their streaming hair. Its webs of living gauze no more unfurl, wrecked is the ship of pearl, and every chambered cell, where its dim dreaming life was wont to dwell, as the frail tenant shaped its growing shell, before thee lies revealed, its irised ceiling rent, its sunless crypt unsealed. Year after year beheld the silent toil that spread his lustrous coil. Still, as the spiral grew, he left the past year's dwelling for the new, stole with soft step its shining archway through, built up its idle door, stretched in his last found home, and knew the old no more. Thanks for the heavenly message brought by thee, child of the wandering sea, cast from her lap, forlorn. From thy dead lips a clearer note is born Than ever Triton blew from wreathed horn, while on mine ear it rings through the deep caves of thought I hear a voice that sings. Build thee more stately mansions, O my soul, as the swift seasons roll. Leave thy low vaulted past. Let each new temple, nobler than the last, shut thee from heaven with a dome more vast, till thou at length art free, leaving thine outgrown shell by life's unresting sea. Oliver Wendell Holmes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Wet Sheet and the Flowing Sea by Alan Cunningham, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2, read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. A Wet Sheet and the Flowing Sea. A wet sheet and a flowing sea, a wind that follows fast, and fills the white and rustling sail, and bends the gallant mast, and bends the gallant mast, my boys, while like the eagle free, away the good ship flies and leaves old England on the lee. Oh, for a soft and gentle wind, I heard a fair one cry, but give to me the snoring breeze and white waves heaving high. And white waves heaving high, my boys, the good ship tight and free. The world of waters is our home, and merry men are we. There's tempest in yon horned moon, and lightning in yon cloud, and hark the music mariners, the wind is piping loud. The wind is piping loud, my boys, the lightning flashing free, while the hollow oak our palace is, our heritage the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Song of the Emigrants in Bermuda by Andrew Marvell. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia as the narrator.
And Jason in Panama as the emigrants.
Song of the Emigrants in Bermuda. Where the remote Bermudas ride, in the ocean's bosom unespied, from a small boat that rowed along, the listening winds received this song.
What should we do but sing his praise that led us through the watery maze where he the huge sea monster racks, that lift the deep upon their backs unto an isle so long unknown and yet far kinder than our own? He lands us on a grassy stage, safe from the storms and prelates' rage. He gave us this eternal spring, which here enamels everything, and sends the fowls to us in care on daily visits through the air. He hangs in shades the orange bright like golden lamps in a green night, and does in the pomegranates close jewels more rich than Ormus shows. He makes the figs our mouths to meet, and throws the melons at our feet. But apples, plants of such a price, no tree could ever bear them twice. With cedars chosen by his hand from Lebanon he stores the land, and makes the hollow seas that roar proclaim the ambergris on shore. He cast, of which we rather boast, the gospel's pearl upon our coast, and in these rocks for us did frame a temple where to sound his name. Oh, let our voice his praise exalt, till it arrive at heaven's vault, which then perhaps rebounding may echo beyond the Mexique Bay.
Thus sung they in the English boat a holy and a cheerful note, and all the way, to guide their chime, with falling oars they kept the time. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Brigantine, from The Water Witch, by James Pennymore Cooper. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. My Brigantine. Just in thy mould, and beauteous in thy form, gentle in roll and buoyant on the surge, light as the sea-fowl rocking in the storm. In breeze and gale thy onward course we urge, my water queen. Lady of mine, more light and swift than thou, none thread the sea with surer keel or steadier on its path. We brave each waste of ocean mystery, and laugh to hear the howling tempest's wrath, for we are thine, my Brigantine. Trust to the mystic power that points the way, trust to the eye that pierces from afar, trust the red meteors that around thee play, and fearless trust the sea-green lady star, thou bark divine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Heaving of the Lead by Charles Dibdin. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. read for LibriVox.org by Sonia as the narrator.
And Craig Franklin as the seaman.
The heaving of the lead. For England, when with favouring gale our gallant ship up channel steered, and scudding under easy sail the high blue western land appeared, to heave the lead the seaman sprung, and to the pilot cheerily sung,
"By the deep Nine!"
And bearing up to gain the port, sonic well-known object kept in view, an abbey tower, a harbour fort, or beacon to the vessel true, while oft the lead the seaman flung, and to the pilot cheerily sung,
"By the Mark 7!"
And as the much-loved shore we near, with transport we behold the roof where dwelt a friend or partner dear, of faith and love a matchless proof. The lead once more the seaman flung, and to the watchful pilot sung,
"Quarter less 5!"
Now to her berth the ship draws nigh, we shorten sail, she feels the tide,
"Stand clear the cable!"
is the cry. The anchor's gone, we safely ride. The watch is set, and through the night we hear the seamen with delight proclaim,
"All's well!"
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Minute Gun by R. S. Sharp, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2, read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Minute Gun. When in the storm on Albion's coast the night watch guards his weary post, from thoughts of danger free, he marks some vessel's dusky form, and hears, amid the howling storm, the minute gun at sea. Swift on the shore a hardy few, the lifeboat man with a gallant crew, and dare the dangerous wave. Through the wild surf they cleave their way, lost in the foam, nor know dismay, for they go the crew to save. But oh, what rapture fills each breast of the hopeless crew of the ship distressed! Then, landed safe, what joy to tell of all the dangers that befell! Then is heard no more, by the watch on shore, the minute gun at sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
All's Well by Thomas Dibdin, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama as the narrator,
Craig Franklin as the sentry.
And Lian Yao as the friend.
All's Well from the British Fleet. Deserted by the waning moon, when skies proclaim night's cheerless noon, on tower, or fort, or tented ground, the sentry walks his lonely round. And should a footstep haply stray, where caution marks the guarded way,
Who goes there? Stranger, quick tell.
A friend.
The word.
Good night.
all's well. Or sailing on the midnight deep, when weary messmates soundly sleep, the careful watch patrols the deck, to guard the ship from foes or wreck. And while his thoughts oft homewards veer, some friendly voice salutes his ear.
What cheer? Brother, quickly tell. Above, below.
Good night, all's well. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Bay of Biscay by Andrew Cherry, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2, read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. The Bay of Biscay. Loud roared the dreadful thunder, the rain a deluge showers, the clouds were rent asunder by lightning's vivid powers. The night, both drear and dark, our poor devoted bark, till next day there she lay in the Bay of Biscay, oh, now dashed upon the billow, her opening timbers creak. Each fears a watery pillow, none stops the dreadful leak. To cling to slippery shrouds, each breathless seaman crowds, as she lay till the day in the Bay of Biscay, oh. At length the wished-for morrow broke through the hazy sky. Absorbed in silent sorrow, each heaved a bitter sigh. The dismal wreck to view struck horror to the crew, as she lay on that day in the Bay of Biscay, oh. Her yielding timbers sever, her pitchy seams are rent, when heaven, all bounteous ever, its boundless mercy sent. A sail in sight appears, we hail her with three cheers. Oh, now we sail with the gale from the Bay of Biscay. Oh.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tom Bowling by Charles Dibdin, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2, read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Tom Bowling. Here, a sheer hulk, lies poor Tom Bowling, the darling of our crew. No more he'll hear the tempest howling, for death has broached him to. His form was of the manliest beauty, his heart was kind and soft. Faithful below he did his duty, but now he's gone aloft. Tom never from his word departed, his virtues were so rare. His friends were many and true-hearted, his Paul was kind and fair. And then he'd sing so blithe and jolly, ah, many's the time and oft. But mirth is turned to melancholy, for Tom is gone aloft. Yet shall poor Tom find pleasant weather, when he, who all commands, shall give, to call life's crew together, the word to pipe all hands. Thus Death, who kings and tars dispatches, in vain Tom's life has doffed. For though his body's under hatches, his soul has gone aloft. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ye Mariners of England by Thomas Campbell, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2, read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Ye Mariners of England. Ye mariners of England that guard our native seas, whose flag is braved 1,000 years, the battle and the breeze, your glorious standard launch again to match another foe, and sweep through the deep while the stormy winds do blow, while the battle rages loud and long, and the stormy winds do blow. The spirits of your fathers shall start from every wave, for the deck it was their field of fame, and ocean was their grave. Where Blake and mighty Nelson fell, your manly hearts shall glow, as ye sweep through the deep while the stormy winds do blow, while the battle rages loud and long, and the stormy winds do blow. Britannia needs no bulwarks, no towers along the steep, her march is o'er the mountain waves, her realm is on the deep. With thunders from her native oak she quells the floods below, as they roar on the shore when the stormy winds do blow, when the battle rages loud and long, and the stormy winds do blow. The meteor flag of England shall yet terrific burn, till danger's troubled night depart, and the star of peace return. Then, ye ocean warriors, a song and feast shall flow, to the fame of your name when the storm has ceased to blow, when the fiery fight is heard no more, and the storm has ceased to blow.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The White Squall by Brian Waller Proctor, Barry Cornwall, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The White Squall. The sea was bright, and the bark rode well. The breeze bore the tone of the vesper bell. 'Twas a gallant bark with a crew as brave as ever launched on the heaving wave. She shone in the light of declining day, and each sail was set, and each heart was gay. They neared the land where in beauty smiles the sunny shore of the Grecian Isles. All thought of home, of that welcome dear which soon should greet each wanderer's ear, and in fancy joined the social throng in the festive dance and the joyous song. A white cloud glides through the azure sky. What means that wild despairing cry? Farewell the visioned scenes of home. That cry is help where no help can come, for the white squall rides on the surging wave, and the bark is gulfed in an ocean grave. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Our Boat to the Waves by William Ellery Channing, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Our Boat to the Waves. Our boat to the waves go free, by the bending tide where the curled wave breaks, like the track of the wind on the white snowflakes. Away, away, 'tis a path o'er the sea. Blasts may rave, spread the sail, for our spirits can wrest the power from the wind, and the grey clouds yield to the sunny mind. Fear not we the whirl of the gale. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Life on the Ocean Wave by Apis Sargent, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Lian Yao. A Life on the Ocean Wave. A life on the ocean wave, a home on the rolling deep, where the scattered waters rave and the winds their revels keep. Like an eagle caged I pine on this dull, unchanging shore. Oh, give me the flashing brine, the spray, and the tempest's roar. Once more on the deck I stand of my own swift gliding craft. Set sail, farewell to the land, the gale follows fair abaft. We shoot through the sparkling foam like an ocean bird set free. Like the ocean bird, our home we'll find far out on the sea. The land is no longer in view, the clouds have begun to frown, but with a stout vessel and crew, we'll say, let the storm come down. And the song of our heart shall be, while the winds and the waters rave, a home on the rolling sea, a life on the ocean wave. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Sea by Thomas Lovell Beddoes, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. to sea. To sea, to sea, the calm is o'er, the wanton water leaps in sport, and rattles down the pebbly shore. The dolphin wheels, the sea cows snort, and unseen mermaids' pearly song comes bubbling up, the weeds among. Fling broad the sail, dip deep the oar, to sea, the calm is o'er. To sea, our white winged bark Shall billowing cleave its watery way, And with its shadow, fleet and dark, Break the caved Triton's azure day, Like mountain eagle soaring light O'er antelopes on Alpine height. The anchor heaves, the ship swings free, Our sails swell full, to sea, to sea. Thomas Lovell Beddoes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Twilight at Sea by Amelia B. Welby. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5. Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Twilight at Sea. The twilight hours like birds flew by, as lightly and as free. 10,000 stars were in the sky, 10,000 on the sea. For every wave with dimpled face that leaped upon the air had caught a star in its embrace and held it trembling there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tacking Ship Offshore by Walter Mitchell. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin as the narrator,
Thomas Peter as the pilot,
Jason in Panama as the captain,
and Sonia as the first mate.
Tacking Ship Offshore. The weather leach of the topsail shivers, the bowlines strain and the lee shrouds slacken. The braces are taut, the lithe boom quivers, and the waves with the coming squall cloud blacken. Open one point on the weather bow is the lighthouse tall on Fire Island Head. There's a shade of doubt on the captain's brow, and the pilot watches the heaving lead. I stand at the wheel, and with eager eye to sea and to sky and to shore I gaze, till the muttered order of
"Fallen by,"
is suddenly changed for
"Full for stays."
the ship bends lower before the breeze, as her broadside fair to the blast she lays, and she swifter springs to the rising seas, as the pilot calls,
"Stand by for stays."
It is silence all, as each in his place, with the gathered coil in his hardened hands, by tack and bowline, by sheet and brace, waiting the watchword impatient stands. And the light on Fire Island Head draws near, as, trumpet winged, the pilots shout. From his post on the bowsprit's heel I hear, with the welcome call of
"Ready, about."
No time to spare, it is touch and go, and the captain growls,
down helm, hard down,
as my weight on the whirling spokes I throw, while heaven grows black with the storm cloud's frown. High o'er the night heads flies the spray, as we meet the shock of the plunging sea, and my shoulder stiff to the wheel I lay, as I answer, "Aye, aye, sir, hard a lee." With the swerving leap of a startled steed, the ship flies fast in the eye of the wind, the dangerous shoals on the lee recede, and the headland white we have left behind. The topsails flutter, the jibs collapse, and belly and tug at the groaning cleats. The spanker slats and the mainsail flaps, and thunders the order,
"Tacks and sheets!"
Mid the rattle of blocks and the tramp of the crew, hisses the rain of the rushing squall. The sails are back from clew to clew, and now is the moment for
"Mainsail haul!"
And the heavy yards, like a baby's toy, by 50 strong arms are swiftly swung. She holds her way, and I look with joy, for the first white spray o'er the bulwarks flung.
"Let go and haul!"
'Tis the last command, and the head sails fill to the blast once more. Astern and to leeward lies the land, with its breakers white on the shingly shore. What matters the reef or the rain or the squall? I steady the helm for the open sea. The first mate clamors,
"Belay there, all!"
and the captain's breath once more comes free. And so offshore let the good ship fly. Little care I how the gusts may blow. In my forecastle bunk in a jacket dry, 8 bells have struck, and my watch is below. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Storm by George Alexander Stevens. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Storm. Cease, rude Boreas, blustering railer, list ye landsmen all to me. Messmates, hear a brother sailor sing the dangers of the sea. From bounding billows first in motion, when the distant whirlwinds rise, to the tempest troubled ocean, where the seas contend with skies. Hark the boatswain hoarsely bawling, by topsail sheets and halyards stand. Down, topgallants, quick be hauling, down your staysails, hand, boys, hand. Now it freshens, set the braces, quick the topsail sheets let go. Luff, boys, luff, don't make wry faces, up your topsails nimbly clew. Round us roars the tempest louder, think what fears our minds enthralls. Harder yet, it yet blows harder, now again the boatswain calls. The topsail yard point to the wind, boys, see all clear to reef each course. Let the foresheets go, don't mind, boys, through the weather should be worse. Fore and aft the sprite sail yard get, reef the mizzen, see all clear. Hands up, each preventive brace set. Man the foreyard, cheer, lads, cheer. Now the dreadful thunders roaring, peal on peal contending clash. On our heads fierce rain falls pouring, in our eyes blue lightnings flash. One wide water all around us, all above us one black sky. Different deaths at once surround us. Hark, what means that dreadful cry? The foremast gone, cries every tongue out. O'er the lee 12 feet 'bove deck, a leak beneath the chest trees sprung out. Call all hands to clear the wreck. Quick the lanyards cut to pieces. Come, my hearts, be stout and bold. Plumb the well, the leak increases. 4 feet water in the hold. While o'er the ship wild waves are beating, we our wives and children mourn. Alas, from hence there's no retreating. Alas, to them there's no return. Still the leak is gaining on us. Both chain pumps are choked below. Heaven have mercy here upon us, for only that can save us now. O'er the lee beam is the land, boys. Let the guns o'erboard be thrown. To the pumps call every hand, boys. See, our mizzen mast is gone. The leak we've found, it cannot pour fast. We've lighted her a foot or more. Up and rig a jury foremast. She's rights, She's right, boys. We're off shore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Wreck, from Don Juan, Canto 2, by Lord Byron, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Lianne Yao. The Wreck. Then rose from sea to sky the wild farewell, then shrieked the timid, and stood still the brave. Then some leaped overboard with dreadful yell, as eager to anticipate their grave. And the sea yawned around her like a hell, and down she sucked with her the whirling wave, like one who grapples with his enemy, and strives to strangle him before he die. And first one universal shriek there rushed, louder than a loud scream, like a crash of echoing thunder. And then all was hushed, save the wild wind and the remorseless dash of billows. But at intervals there gushed, accompanied with a convulsive splash, a solitary shriek, the bubbling cry of some strong swimmer in his agony. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shipwreck by William Falconer, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Shipwreck. In vain the cords and axes were prepared, for now the audacious seas insult the yard. High over the ship they throw a horrid shade, and over her burst in terrible cascade. Uplifted on the surge, to heaven she flies, her shattered top half buried in the skies, then headlong plunging thunders on the ground. Earth groans, air trembles, and the deeps resound. Her giant bulk the dread concussion feels, and quivering with the wound in torment reels. So reels, convulsed with agonizing throes, the bleeding bull beneath the murderous blows. Again she plunges. Hark! A second shock tears her strong bottom on the marble rock. Down on the vale of death, with dismal cries, the fated victims, shuddering, roll their eyes in wild despair, while yet another stroke, with deep convulsion, rends the solid oak. Till like the mine, in whose infernal cell the lurking demons of destruction dwell, at length asunder torn her frame divides, and crashing spreads in ruin o'er the tides. Oh, were it mine with tuneful Maro's art to wake to sympathy the feeling heart, like him the smooth and mournful verse to dress in all the pomp of exquisite distress, then, too severely taught by cruel fate to share in all the perils I relate, then might I with unrivalled strains deplore the impervious horrors of a leeward shore. As over the surge the stooping mainmast hung, still on the rigging 30 seamen clung. Some, struggling, on a broken crag were cast, and there by oozy tangles grappled fast. Awhile they bore the overwhelming billows' rage, unequal combat with their fate to wage, till, all benumbed and feeble, they forego their slippery hold, and sink to shades below. Some, from the mainyard arm impetuous thrown on marble ridges, die without a groan. 3 with Palemon on their skill depend, and from the wreck on oars and rafts descend. Now on the mountain wave on high they ride, then downward plunge beneath the involving tide, till one, who seems in agony to strive, the whirling breakers heave on shore alive. The rest a speedier end of anguish knew, and pressed the stony beach, a lifeless crew. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Rock and the Sea by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5. Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter as the Rock.
And Lian Yao as the Sea.
The Rock and the Sea. The Rock. I am the rock, presumptuous sea. I am set to encounter thee. Angry and loud, or gentle and still, I am set here to limit thy power, and I will. I am the rock. I am the rock. From age to age I scorn thy fury and dare thy rage. Scarred by frost and worn by time, brown with weed and green with slime, thou mayst drench and defile me, and spit in my face, but while I am here thou keep'st thy place. I am the rock. I am the rock, beguiling sea. I know thou art fair as fair can be, with golden glitter and silver sheen, and bosom of blue and garments of green. Thou mayst pat my cheek with baby hands, and lap my feet in diamond sands, and play before me as children play. But plead as thou wilt, I bar the way. I am the rock. I am the rock. Black midnight falls. The terrible breakers rise like walls. With curling lips and gleaming teeth, they plunge and tear at my bones beneath. Year upon year they grind and beat in storms of thunder and storms of sleet. Grind and beat and wrestle and tear, but the rock they beat on is always there. I am the rock.
The sea. I am the sea. I hold the land as one holds an apple in his hand. Hold it fast with sleepless eyes, watching the continents sink and rise. Out of my bosom the mountains grow, back to its depths they crumble slow. The earth is a helpless child to me. I am the sea. I am the sea. When I draw back, blossom and verdure follow my track, and the land I leave grows proud and fair, for the wonderful race of man is there. And the winds of heaven wail and cry, while the nations rise and reign and die, living and dying in folly and pain, while the laws of the universe thunder in vain. What is the folly of man to me? I am the sea. I am the sea. The earth I sway, granite to me is potter's clay. Under the touch of my careless waves it rises in turrets and sinks in caves. The iron cliffs that edge the land I grind to pebbles and sift to sand. And beach grass bloweth and children play in what were the rocks of yesterday. It is but a moment of sport to me. I am the sea. I am the sea. In my bosom deep, wealth and wonder and beauty sleep. Wealth and wonder and beauty rise in changing splendour of sunset skies, and comfort the earth with the rains and snows, till waves the harvest and laughs the rose. Flower and forest and child of breath with me have life, without me death. What if the ships go down in me? I am the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Polar Quest by Richard Burton. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Polar Quest. Unconquerably men venture on the quest, and seek an ocean amplitude unsailed, cold, virgin, awful, scorning ease and rest, and heedless of the heroes who have failed, they face the ice floes with a dauntless zest. The polar quest, life's offer to the strong, to pass beyond the pale, to do and dare, leaving a name that stirs us like a song, and making captive some strange other where. Though grim the conquest and the labor long, forever courage kindles, faith moves forth to find the mystic floodway of the north. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shore, from Ariadne, by Charles G. D. Roberts, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yao. The Shore. Hung like a rich pomegranate o'er the sea, the ripened moon, along the tranced sand, the feather-shadowed ferns drooped dreamfully. The solitude's evading harmony mingled remotely over sea and land. A light wind woke and whispered warily, and myriad ripples tinkled on the strand. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Kearsarge by James Jeffrey Roche, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama as the narrator,
And Leanne Yao as the formless thing.
The Kearsarge. In the gloomy ocean bed dwelt a formless thing, and said, in the dim and countless eons long ago,
I will build a stronghold high, ocean's power to defy, and the pride of haughty men to lay low.
Crept the minutes for the sad, sped the cycles for the glad, but the march of time was neither less nor more. While the formless atom died, myriad millions by its side, and above them slowly lifted Roncador. Roncador of Caribbee, coral dragon of the sea, ever sleeping with his teeth below the wave. Woe to him who breaks the sleep! Woe to them who sail the deep! Woe to ship and man that fear a shipman's grave! Hither many a galleon old, heavy keeled with guilty gold, fled before the hardy rover smiting sore. But the sleeper silent lay, till the preyer and his prey brought their plunder and their bones to Roncador. Be content, O conqueror! Now our bravest ship of war, War and tempest who had often braved before, all her storied prowess past, strikes her glorious flag at last to the formless thing that builded Roncador. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Boy Bell by Charles Tennyson Turner, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Boy Bell. How like the leper, with his own sad cry, enforcing his own solitude, it tolls, that lonely bell set in the rushing shoals, to warn us from the place of jeopardy. O friend of man, sore vexed by ocean's power, the changing tides wash over thee day by day. Thy trembling mouth is filled with bitter spray, yet still thou ringest on from hour to hour. High is thy mission, though thy lot is wild, to be in danger's realm a guardian sound, in seamen's dreams a pleasant part to bear, and earn their blessing as the year goes round, and strike the key note of each grateful prayer breathed in their distant homes by wife or child. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yao. Dover Beach. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full, the moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched sand, listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling, at their return, up the high strand. Begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long, withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night winds, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another. For the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. With a Nantucket Shell by Charles Henry Webb. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yao. With a Nantucket Shell. I send a shell from the ocean beach, but listen thou well, for my shell hath speech. Hold to thine ear, and plain thou'lt hear tales of ships that were lost in the ribs, or that sunk on the shores where the bellbuoy tolls, and ever its iron tongue rolls in a ceaseless lament for the poor lost souls. And a song of the sea has my shell for thee. The melody in it was hummed at war in it, and caught echo to by the gull that flew outside to the ships with its perishing crew. But the white wings wave where none may save, and there's never a stone to mark a grave. See, its sad heart bleeds for the sailor's needs, but it bleeds again for more mortal pain, more sorrow and woe, than is theirs who go with shuddering eyes and whitening lips down in the sea in their shattered ships. Thou fearest the sea, and a tyrant is he, a tyrant as cruel as tyrant may be. But though winds fierce blow, and the rocks lie low, and the coast be lee, this I say to thee: of Christian souls more have been wrecked on shore than ever were lost at sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Seashell, from The Excursion, Book 4, by William Wordsworth. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. The Seashell, from The Excursion, Book 4. I have seen a curious child, who dwelt upon a tract of inland ground, applying to his ear the convolutions of a smooth lipped shell, to which in silence hushed his very soul listened intensely, and his countenance soon brightened with joy, for from within were heard murmurings whereby the monitor expressed mysterious union with its native sea. Even such a shell the universe itself is to the ear of faith, and there are times, I doubt not, when to you it doth impart authentic tidings of invisible things, of ebb and flow and ever-during power, and central peace, subsisting at the heart of endless agitation. William Wordsworth. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shell by Walter Savage Landor, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 2. Read for LibriVox.org by Lianne Yao as the narrator.
And Sonia as the woman.
The Shell, from Geber, Book 1.
I am not daunted, no, I will engage. But first,
Said she,
what wager will you lay?
a sheep, I answered. Add whate'er you will.
I cannot,
She replied.
make that return. Our hided vessels in their pitchy round seldom, unless from rapine, hold a sheep. But I have sinuous shells of pearly hue within, and they that lustre have imbibed in the sun's palace porch, where, when unyoked, his chariot wheel stands midway in the wave. Shake one, and it awakens, then apply its polished lips to your attentive ear, and it remembers its august abodes, and murmurs as the ocean murmurs there.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.